In a profession dominated by giants, some literal giants and some larger-than-life characters, there was a man bigger than them all. A man who was internationally respected by his opposition, revered by his millions of fans, and merely 5'8", 200 pounds, in the spectacle-driven business known as professional wrestling. The man colloquially known as the Golden Greek, Jim Londos, despite his average height and weight, was a box office giant in the golden age of professional wrestling. Londos was born in Koutsoupati, Argos, Greece, January 2nd, 1894. He was the youngest of 13 children in a house filled with knockin' boots. His father, Theophilos, was a noted amateur wrestler of considerable reputation and is presumed to be the first trainer of the future world champion Londos. While the life of a shepherd was a respectable one, the young Londos pined for more and thus set sail at the age of 13 to the land of opportunity, the good old US of A. Once in America, Jim, who still went by his Greek birth name, Theophilou, took on multiple jobs trying to make ends meet, eventually landing a gig as the catcher in a carnival acrobatics routine. It was at this carnival that Londos first began to train in catch wrestling and the early discipline of Japanese jiu-jitsu. Historically, there have been questions raised as to the level of the legitimacy that Londos had to hold his own in a shoot fight. While the opinions are mixed, former NWA World Champion Luthez stated that Londos was well-versed and could handle himself if adversarial conditions arose, and a co-sign by Luthez tells me you're a pretty tough guy. The first iteration of Londos' professional career started in 1912. Wearing overalls to the ring, Londos attempted a Greek gimmick known as the wrestling plasterer, Christopher Theophilus. That gimmick was quickly dropped for the name and no-nonsense wrestler gimmick that he'd forever be known for. Donning the Golden Greek moniker, the freshly minted Jim Londos was born, and the world of professional wrestling would forever be changed. His first major accolade came in 1919 when he took future world champion Ed Strangler Lewis to a 2-hour draw. Lewis would go on to defeat Joe Stecker for the world championship only 1 year later, solidifying to fans that both Lewis and Londos were the next generation of pro wrestling royalty. The 1920s were dominated by Strangler Lewis, but with unwavering resolve, Jim Londos plied his craft through the decade, and as the 1920s closed out, he finally achieved his rightful spot on the top of the wrestling business. Following the American boom period of the 1920s, Londos found himself shouldering the weight of the pro wrestling industry while America simultaneously stared down the barrel of the Great Depression. While Strangler Lewis reigned as the world champion of wrestling, Londos had amassed multiple regional athletic commission titles, including California, Maryland, and Minnesota. But that all changed June 6th, 1930 in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, when Londos pinned champion Dick Shikat to become the universally recognized world champion of professional wrestling. The Golden Greek was just hitting his stride. What followed the world title win was a run of success only rivaled by the most influential people of the 1930s. Londos became the unquestioned top attraction for the better part of the next 2 decades, seeing wrestling through the Depression and beyond the aftermath of World War II. While recency bias in sports is prominent across the board, wrestling might be its biggest victim, leaving Londos and other monster talents from this era reserved merely for the record books and far from the minds of current wrestling fans. But the 1930s was a different time. News traveled slow. The Depression ate into the last pennies of American household savings accounts, and the radio was cutting-edge technology. But despite all these hurdles, Jim Londos sold out arenas across America and abroad, rivaling the biggest boxers of the era. Throughout his career, Londos wrestled in over 32 countries, having matches with the likes of Stanislaw Zbyszko, Bronco Nagurski, Ray Steele, Dick Schickat, Ed Strangler Lewis, Gorgeous George, and Joe Stecker, but to name a few. His most famous achievement, beyond his world title run, would be his return to his homeland of Greece in 1933. He returned as the world champion and a national hero, and the outcome spoke to every morsel of his celebrity. An estimated 110,000 fans watched him wrestle Georgian-born Kola Kwariani in Athens' Panathenaic Stadium to defend his world's championship. Also in 1933, you could say Jim Londos pioneered an early rendition of mixed martial arts as he performed in an exhibition mixed-style match with Oki Shikina, a notable Japanese jiu-jitsu practitioner of the time. Stipulations for the match had Londos don a jiu-jitsu gi and inevitably take Shikina to a time-limit draw in their mixed discipline contest. Londos reigned as world champion from 1930 to 1935, with a total of 1,847 days atop the wrestling world. The mid-30s saw Londos continue his dominance of the ring and the box office as he remained at the apex of sporting popularity. He even had a potential match scheduled with a young Lou Thez. But the young Thez got some career advice from his coach George Tragos and decided grappling with Londos at this stage of his career probably wasn't the best idea. As the 1930s turned to the 40s, a war began to rage across Europe, but the international unrest didn't slow the Golden Greek's popularity as he continued to headline in every promotion he worked. Despite being outside of his athletic prime, Londos was always known as a formidable opponent, and having a match with him meant you were in for a tough night in the squared circle. Thank you for watching this little documentary that we've put together. If you're enjoying it, please think about subscribing to the channel, like the video, leave us a comment, and if you'd like to support us, you can head over to our comic book store, BigBeaverComics.com, over on Instagram at Big Beaver Comics, or right here on YouTube, Big Beaver Comics. Back to the video. Londos retired from active competition in 1953 after spending roughly 41 years as an active competitor. While remaining single during most of his career, Londos would find love and marry as his career wound down. Londos and his wife Arva would have 3 daughters, Diana, Demetra, and Christina, and they would settle down in Escondido, California on a 10-acre avocado orchard. Londos dedicated the rest of his life to his family and his many charitable endeavors that he was passionate about. He was honored by both President Richard Nixon and King Paul of Greece for his philanthropic work later in life. Sadly, the Golden Greek passed away at the age of 81 August 19th, 1975, due to a heart attack. Jim Londos was posthumously inducted into the Cauliflower Alley Hall of Fame in 2020, the WWE Hall of Fame in 2018, and the Wrestling Observer Hall of Fame in 1996. We hope this documentary adequately honored the life and times of the Golden Greek Jim Londos, and we appreciate you for joining us. Thank you.